Jam. Hey there, Outliers. Let us jam together because my name is Niiamah Ashong, and I am incredibly grateful and excited to be a part of your journey. In fact, here we've curated an incredible group of outliers, and so we all get to be a part of your journey here today. These outliers are here to show how they continue to level up, how they continue to play a game that is bigger than themselves and not end up playing small. And we'll just share and see how you navigate all of this and make it possible. So I want to bring each of you into the room here. We'll start off with you, Michelle. Michelle, would you mind letting us know more about you and the game that you're playing right now?
All right. Hi. So I have a few a few games. So I do have a podcast that I am holding because I see a need and I don't see a lot of people jumping up for this particular area. I am a special needs parent and I'm also a special needs educator. And so I get to have that advantage of having a perspective from both sides of the world as an educator of special needs and as a parent of special needs. So I have a podcast that is directed as a resource for parents and educators. And I have my first season is out, and it really just talks about my story and the conclusions that I've made to retain that joy, because special needs parenting can be isolated. It can be a lonely road, and it can also be challenging. So I wanted to share my story, and hopefully people can identify and feel like they're not alone in the world. I do have plans to move forward. My daughter's 19, and I will be talking about transitioning your special needs child into adulthood. And that's what I have looking forward. My husband decided to jump on the bandwagon, and now we have a podcast together for marriage and families. And I do have a YouTube channel as well for early childhood education, which is targeted at young children. And so that's where I'm going.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Michelle, for finding different ways to keep sharing like what you're learning, your leadership, and continue to make things, yeah, continue to just show up for yourself and others. Thank you. Samantha, why don't we come to you? Let us get to know you and the game you're playing.
Oh, hi everyone. I hope I'm saying it right. Niiamah,
Niiamah,
right?
you nailed it. Yeah, you're good. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be a clue. I am a 20 plus year media professional in my country. I was a primetime news anchor, a radio announcer, producer. I'm an award-winning TV producer regionally. And because of that and being so well known, I've always kind of paralleled had my own business, which was production, media production, and I saw the world change with social media. So my industry was traditional media, which was television and radio, and it was definitely and has been struggling locally. And they would describe us as sometimes saying that we are like 10 years behind in the Caribbean, but we're definitely playing catch up. So I did pivot myself to be and learn and become an expert on digital media, new media. I've been doing that for a few years. I've done it for myself, for my production business, and I've been doing it for corporate clients as well. So I provide communication strategies, content production, spokesperson services using myself for these corporate brands to relay their message. I also have a podcast. It's called Pivot, and it's basically, yes, podcasts helping persons, even individuals, navigate and adapt communication strategies for what is I term today's fast-paced, evolving world because of social media. And I really enjoy doing this as well because I have, rebranded so many times in my like 20 plus years in my career because, sometimes people like to box you in and they like to tell you, you started to do something for 5 years. This is who you are. You're a news anchor. And that's it. And I have so many different passions and talents. I mean, I moved from primetime news anchoring to having a parenting program. Then, so many different, as things happened in my life, basically, I just took on new challenges. And every time I did it, I kind of did it with a bang and rebranded. So I'm like giving that knowledge and experience to my clients as well. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, Samantha, I am really thrilled that you're here. The idea of like pivoting, rebranding, having multiple lives, and like continuing to make sure that you never get like held back by someone else's vision of who you are. And like I hear you actively taking ownership of like this is who I want to be now. This is where I see things going, and finding ways to stay on the edge. You don't stay relevant for 20 years in any field unless you are consistently leading and continue to reinvent yourself in a meaningful way. So I see you and I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing that and bringing you to this conversation.
Thank you for having
No, absolutely. Why don't we come over to Lisa? Lisa, let us get to know you and the game that you're playing.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. My name is Lisa Williams, and I'm also known as the Vision Board Queen. And what I do is I help women create the blueprints for their dreams and their desires so that they can live the life and the freedom that they desire. And this week, I have just helped 28 women become best-selling authors in this brand new book. So I help them see what their passion is and really help them shine with what their dreams and their desires are. I also have a podcast of my own called the Vision Board Blueprints, and I absolutely love helping female women in business create and grow their businesses.
I can see that. And I see how you create platforms for people. For those of us that are listening only and not see that not here visually, what is the name of that book that you've
The
put
name of
together?
the book is called Ripples of Positivity, and it is a collection of 28 incredible women's stories around, their adversity and coming through the other side, shining their light of inspiration, motivation, and positivity.
Well, thank you for bringing it out here. We're glad to have you in this space with us. Thank you so much. And then Nicola, why don't you help us get to know you in the game that you're playing?
Yeah, so thank you, Niiamah. My name's Nicola. So I'm involved in quite a few games. I actually work full time in a law firm in the probate department. But I also have my own business. So that really, there's three levels to it, or three different things that I do. So one is to help golf lawyers. I lived in the Gulf for a very, very long time, got a lot of connections there. So helping lawyers in the Gulf improve their legal English. There's a lot of global law firms out, particularly places like Dubai, Riyadh. And in order to get a position in those global firms, lawyers that speak English as a second or third language often need to, particularly in places like Dubai, where the main language that people function is English. They need to have pretty good, not only good English skills, but good legal English skills. So I help those lawyers. I also help A-level, LLB, which is the law degree, and SQE, which is solicitors qualifying exam students to pass their exams. And then I also help students with their academic writing. So I've tutored academic writing in English universities now for 14 years. And I've also got a little book that I produced called Essay Excellence to help students just improve their grades, because it's not just university. Students have to take a long-term approach. And this is actually about job hunting as well. The better the grade you get, the better chance you stand of obviously getting into a bigger firm, a bigger company, and earning more as well.
Well, thank you so much here, Nicola, for bringing that in here. It seems like one of the things I get about you is that you've taken the different parts of your life and you found different ways to continue both helping people and to incorporate that into business and beyond. Y'all are incredible. I'm excited for where we take the conversation here. One of the things that I think I'd like to start out with, because each of you like shine so brightly to me. And I think what I like to start out here is a place where y'all have like recently found challenge, right? A place where there's something in your business or the mission that you stand for, and you ran into a wall. And I'm curious about like one part of it just being like, what is a challenge, right? It seems like everything, like I hear like, oh, you've done all this stuff. it almost feels like everything might just like work smoothly. And then the other side of it being like, what are the steps that you've taken to overcome? And if y'all are like in this space to be like, this is one of the challenges I'm facing right now, like, feel free to bring that in. And I know it won't have a nice, like, cute bow associated with it. I like to keep the same order for the first question. So why don't we go to Michelle, then we go to Samantha, then Lisa, and then Nicola. Michelle.
Sure. So I I am finding challenges. One of my big challenges is that I do tend to be over ambitious. And so the things that I'm doing right now in the media kind of area, which is the podcast, the YouTube, it's all stuff that I'm doing as a side hobby. And I'm just barely getting started. It's only been 1 or 2 years, depending on the area that I've been working in. And I'm a creative. And so I struggle with, I have so many things I want to get done, but I still work full time. I'm a special needs parent. So my child with special needs does take up a lot of my time. And it's just, I want to do it all. And so I'm challenged in the sense that I want to be able to be really effective, but still sustainable so that I can still live a balanced life and have a life with balance where I can take care of all the things I got to take care of and still move forward. But I am enjoying my process very much, and I am struggling to find a good rhythm in keeping up with 2 podcasts and 2 YouTube channels. So that's my current challenge.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for being real with it and bringing it right into this conversation. One of the things that I think is going to be really fun is like in putting this out here. I there's going to be things that some of us have been struggling with or no longer struggle with, and I'm really excited to see how, like, even by the end of this conversation, what insights might come out of it. So, thank you very much, Michelle. It's one other thing that really struck me is like I'm barely just getting started, and you brought in like a year or two, and I think like Outliers, as we're having this conversation, think to yourself, where have you been? Looking for immediate results. Like it's been a month, it's been 2 months. Why isn't this working? And Michelle, what I really got was like you understand time and like the larger picture of it as it goes along. So thank you for that. Samantha, let's come to you. What's the challenge that you recently had to overcome or and that you're taking on right now?
Um, One of my biggest challenges was, I would say, consistency and consistency with my own business. So, whereas I stayed in the media for, as I said, 20 plus years, that's because, I had an employer at certain point. So, I was always employed at a media house. Parallel to that, as I said, I was running my own business. And because of the lack of mentorship, when things got a little rocky, it seemed like the easiest thing to do was to stop. And I had that business, I probably stopped that like in about maybe 2013 or something like that. And so I had a big gap with having a registered business that was operating, making a lot of revenue. And things got a little shaky for a while with cash flow. And then I just, kind of panicked and just relied on going back to my media skills and left the business alone for a long while. And because I did that, I saw that if I had stayed consistent and maybe I got the right mentorship, that I would have overcome that challenge and I would not have to have been like, I describe myself now as kind of starting over, but starting over from a point that I left and that I basically could have, I could have excelled at the time. So I'm trying to play catch up. And because I'm doing that catch up, I have that sort of perfectionism issue where I want to micromanage everything and do it myself, and everything has to be perfect before it's published or released. So that is something that I definitely have to get over and just know that I just need to put it out there and it's going to be good enough. And while it's being consumed, I could just improve on it. So that's basically has been kind of my main challenge.
I really appreciate you bringing this in here, Samantha. There's a man, the number of projects that like I look back now. Part of the reason we're doing this podcast is because in 2022 I started reaching out to people, and it took me about a year and a half to realize that like all the other things I did for my business like weren't fulfilling me and weren't leading to like new connections anywhere near my. And I think about it a lot. I'm like, "God, if only I had just stayed with it. Like where would my skill set be?" And to your point, we just get back in and we build where we are right now. Thank you, Samantha, because I like I know I talked to a lot of outliers, and what you just shared is where we are, where we've been. So I really appreciate you for that. Thank you. Lisa, let's go to you. What's a challenge or something that you've recently overcome?
Well, it was definitely a challenge to do the book,
Yeah.
bringing 28 women together. Obviously, women in general are not the easiest clientele to collate all at the same time. So working with 28 women was a challenge, obviously having deadlines to get to the editor, having deadlines to get it published. So that was a challenge. But I do think I'm going to go back to one of my earlier challenges, which was before I actually had my existing business, what I do now. And I went through several miscarriages, which led me onto the path that I'm on now, onto my spiritual path, onto my vision board side of stuff. But that was a real challenging part of my life that really made me go back inwards and really connect to who I actually was and what I was put here to do. So that was a challenge, but I definitely don't think I would be here now without that challenge.
Hey, thank you for being real about that and bringing that to this conversation, Lisa. I think I feel like if you're open to it, there may be an outlier right now who might be in a similar situation or going through it. It happens far more commonly than is typically like discussed. And I'm just wondering here, I know we're still getting to know you, but if there's a message that you have for any outlier that's
Yeah,
listening to this, what
no,
might it be?
absolutely. Because I don't know if you celebrate or you do this in the US or anything, but here in the UK we have a week called Baby Loss Awareness Week, and that was earlier this month. So it's the beginning of October in the UK. And it is an opportunity where lots of people do share their stories. So I'm very open about sharing my own story. But one of my messages or one of my inspirations is it could happen to anyone. There's nothing like when it happened to me, it made me feel worthless. It made me feel like it made me physically hate my body. But don't let that be you because it happens more often than people realize. But just talk about it. Don't hold it in because the more we talk, the more we release that feelings in our body. And when we release them, they aren't stagnant in our body and then we don't hold on to that trauma for a long period of time.
Thank you, Lisa. I know it's not like the primary thing that's with you, but I want to make sure we're speaking to it all. I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing it in here. Nicola, help us hear from your side here around a challenge you've recently overcome.
Yeah, I think particularly for people just starting out in business, working full time and starting that business as well. You're doing your 35, 37, 40-hour weeks, coming home at night quite tired, but you've still got to sort of work on that business, working on the business at weekends. Um, Maybe not sleeping as much as you should do and getting that brain fog early in the morning because you're getting up at 5 and guess what? You're working on the business before you go into work. So what's really a few things have helped me. One is having a gratitude journal, just because it's making me realize like how lucky I am to be doing what I'm doing. And it also keeps me focused on my why. So what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And also planning my time very, very carefully so that I don't do things like sit and doom scroll, for example, when I could be, I don't know, messaging clients or working on content creation. So I think it's not just a challenge for me. I think a lot of people just starting out in business have that challenge. And two friends of mine, in particular, who actually quit their full-time jobs and went full-time immediately with their new businesses, actually ended up losing their houses. So I think it is that continuing to have a safety net at the back of you, but also being very careful with your time and making sure you do things like exercise, eat properly or eat well, and drink your water and sleep as well.
Yeah, so thank you for like a lot of like the foundational elements and I like to use the word foundation like 'cause, like there's components of this where it's like like you hear the stories and you think that everything's going to work out right away, but even Samantha was talking earlier around like things got shaky, like it's just not guaranteed and what the process would be. And so I like I appreciate you bringing in like, hey, this is how I'm navigating doing bringing it all to life here. All right. And we're going to keep our conversations going and flowing. So far, like this has been a little bit more directed, this first question here, but I think as this goes over, I like to like invite y'all to just open up your mic if something is calling to you, and just like we'll just have an ongoing conversation with each other throughout. All right. So, um, talking about like the Nicola, you just brought in time, like the full-time job. Michelle, you were talking about something similar here and bringing that in. I'm curious for you, what's something that you've learned like that has worked for you to be able to manage all the different things that you have going on that most other people would either wouldn't agree with or wouldn't have like any clue like that you're doing it. Michelle, let's start with you, and then Nicola will go to you.
Okay, so one thing that I've done over the last year and a half or so is I decided to just reorganize my life entirely, and I am all digital. I am paperless. I like that because I can keep my information wherever I go, wherever I'm at. If I'm on the go, I can still access everything that I need to access through, Wi-Fi, through the cloud. And so I'm going to promote here a book that really changed my life. It's called Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. So I read that book, and it's all about organizing and automating, creating systems where you can actually take advantage of the digital tools and technology that are out there so that you can organize your life and not hold everything in your brain. Because one thing that I am awful at is remembering things. It's just terrible. I used to be a server at a restaurant, and I was so bad because I couldn't ever remember what to bring to the tables and what they had asked. So anyway, I can't rely on my memory. And also, I'm not getting a lot of sleep as a special needs parent. That affects me. So I decided I would move forward with using technology to help become a second brain for myself. And so now I've created systems based on some of the ideas that I pulled and the systems that I pulled from that book. And it has been life-changing. So I've been able to manage myself and not have to do things right as soon as they come to my mind. I have a system now where I can take a digital note, put it where I've organized myself, and know that I will get to it when it's time. I've learned to manage my calendar. I've learned to manage my inbox. And so now I've got things that are automated and they're moving on their own. And I'm making full use of that technology because that's what it's for. And so that's an area where when I work with other people, I get a lot of pushback. People still like to have a paper calendar. They still like to plan. But I found that moving forward for me, going digital and just delegating, automating has been a tremendous game changer for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you leaned into that, and also just using the word like delegating and automating together in that space. It's like I'm delegating it to my second brain through to the technology and playing out from there. That's a cool way of looking at it. Thank you there, Nicola. How about you? Like, what are some things you do to keep it all going?
I think for me, scheduling's been very, very important. Making sure I get up early in the morning. I do get up at 5. I read a book called The Power Hour, and that had quite a big impact because I'd started to become somebody who was going to bed quite late, still getting up in time for work, but I kind of flipped that. And so I get up at 5 now, do my exercises before I go to work, and that's made a big difference. I'm so alert. And then I spend an hour working on my business. It's put me, I'm in a very, very positive frame of mind then by the time I go to my day job because I've actually already exercised. I've done something for the business. So I just feel so much more positive than waking up and going, oh my God, I've now got to go to the office for like 8 hours. So that's been very, very big. I meditate every morning as soon as I wake up, my affirmation cards. So more kind of positivity. I do use a
Yeah.
vision board as well. And also if you're feeling, I've made a note of, if anything goes particularly well, if I win a contract or something, it's to make a note of it and make a note of how I felt, or even make like a little selfie, like a little video. So those days when I am feeling a bit down and I think, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm just tired, or things aren't going at the speed that you see in advertisements, for example, you know, these you can change your life in 90-day courses. I can watch that video and then I think, do you know what? It's not as bad as I think. Like things are actually happening and they're happening at the time that's right for me.
Nicola, I appreciate it. That's something I think I'll be taking on there, just like capturing the feeling and coming back to it rather than just like I think sometimes I'll anchor myself in the action or the accomplishment, but not in the actual feeling that came along with it there. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for bringing this out here. Outliers, like think for yourself. What are some of the ways that you have that you are able to bring it? Because I know a lot of you are taking on a couple different things all at once. I want to see like if we can build on what Michelle has, what Nicola has, and if you don't have things in there, everything they said sounds like a really great place to start. Samantha, I'm going to come to you next here. I have a different question for you here. If you want to respond to this, feel free. But like, is there anything that you want to say to this before we move on to with a different question?
Well, just that, I might be the opposite for the keeping going part because I am obsessive. So if I am doing something, I'm like doing it 24/7. And that has been my challenge to keep balance. I actually have a book published on Amazon called The Balance Block Method, where I had to implement balance. So to keep me going, I have to make sure I have to take breaks, or else I will burn out. And then when you burn out, that's it. The project kind of starts to crumble because it kind of all depends on me. And that has been my biggest challenge, keeping balance so that I don't have to, that I won't end up burning out and that, I can be consistent in the long run.
Oh, I love this here. We're gonna keep playing with this because like there's just so much that we can be doing, and to find our ways to be able to stay in the game. I had a conversation with a client earlier today about the difference between a finite game and an infinite game. And I won't go into it too far into this right now. Outliers, I recommend that you do some work on what a finite game versus an infinite game is. But one of the ways you win an infinite game is just to be able to stay in the game. And that's like I'm hearing that here, and I'm thinking about that as we come into place. You know, let's go to you quickly here, Lisa, and then I'm going to come back to you, Samantha, in a bit. Lisa, you've been in the game for a while, and I'm curious about like how you keep like leveling yourself up. Like you're not like the vision queen, like the starter or beginner or like the vision board queen. Like you're at the very top of it all. And so I'm curious about how you continue to level yourself up as you when it comes to business for yourself.
Yeah, so I'm just going to reiterate what the lady said about being like their organization. So I also I'm a bit, I like to use two different things. So I have a paper diary, but I also use Trello, which is like my brain dump place. That is where I literally brain dump everything. So all of my ideas, all of my inspiration, and everything is on there. And I use it as like a to-do list as well. So I do use that quite well, which keeps me very much on the same path, if that makes sense. So I know where I'm up to. And I also want to come back to what Nicola said with regarding doing a selfie with like her achievements. I do something similar, but I love this. So if anyone wants to go away and do this, I'd love to see them. So I have a vision achievement board. So when I achieve a vision, I take it off my vision board and I stick it on an achievement board, so that when I do come to like those days where you think, oh, it's not going my way, it's not working right, or you're feeling a bit flat, I just look at that and think, wow, look at all the things that I've achieved, look at all what I can do. And that really lifts my motivation. But in terms of going that next level, it really is, I just use my vision board. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I use that to inspire me and motivate me to show up every day for my future self. And every day, that future self is getting closer and closer and closer. And the closer you get, the more that future self is really wanting to bring more to her life and bring more, amazing opportunities like podcasts like this, doing the book, speaking and connecting with people. It's such the world is really, you know, there's so much available to us all that we just have to believe it's there and really allow ourselves to dream that big. And sometimes we play into a box that people put us in, and we don't dream outside that box. And what really inspires me is to, you know, live outside that box and really push myself forward.
Wow. Thank you, Lisa. Like I'm gonna come in here because you just talked about like dreaming outside of the boxes that people put you in. And I remember, Samantha, you were talking about that a little bit earlier when it came to like having to reinvent yourself here. So do us a favor real quick and like share with us like what you are like doing now, like your most current invention of self. And then for any outliers out there, let's get that first, and I'm gonna have a follow-up question for you. And I'll bring that out to everyone.
So right now, I am a communication strategist, and what I'm trying to help people, especially like corporate brands, because their messages can be really complicated. So I come in, try to simplify it, humanize it a little bit. They procrastinate a lot on showing up online. So everybody's kind of like, yeah, we'll get to that at some point. And in the meantime, you know, the internet is like running away. So I come in and I help them, you know, put together some content. They get really excited about it. But a lot of the companies, you know, what they don't understand, and I guess we all understand as entrepreneurs here, is the consistency of being online. So they'll do it for a while. They see a lot of traction and then they kind of stop. So I have to keep coming back in and reminding them. So to remind them, I'm online like a lot and constantly. So that's the kind of juggle there to show them, you know, what you can achieve if you can do, you know, something similar, something to duplicate a little bit. I see a lot of people inside the corporations as individuals trying to shine, not necessarily an agenda by the company that they're working with, but you know, a lot of professionals are starting podcasts or trying to do webinars, and you know, I just want to encourage them to stay consistent and keep doing it and keep building that personal brand. And you know, as they do it, it's going to get easier. You'll find yourself a system. It'll get easier. And you're also going to be building up that digital footprint that in the long run is definitely going to pay off for you.
Yeah, that's super interesting here in terms of uh, the consistency part of it, like going back to that element of like, hey, not stopping and building out. Let me ask you about your reinvention process, right? Because like from what I get, like people have known you in different ways. And so I'm curious here, and this is something I'm going to open up to all of us here. We probably have like another one or two questions to be able to go in a little more deeply on. The I want to see how have y'all reinvented yourself? And I think the point that's coming to mind is like how have you let the rest of like the people who have known you understand like this is how we're showing up now. This is the game that we're playing, and bring them to like bring them on as partners in the game you're playing. So Samantha, you talked specifically about doing this quite a few times. So let me start with you, and I will open up to everyone.
So basically, I just show up as who I decide who I want to be. So I have been in many instances, and I could tell, like probably by the age of the person that I may be in conversation with. So because I was like on primetime television, like from 2006 for about 11 years, a certain age group, if they come to me, they say, "Oh, you look very familiar. I know you from somewhere." I kind of get the idea that they know me from television. But as I said, traditional media has basically been struggling. And these days, if someone says they recognize me, they're definitely recognizing me from my socials, either from TikTok or from Instagram or from Facebook. Because I mean, I have just recently I met a really, really young girl. And I was like, she's too young to have known me from TV. But she's like, you look really, really familiar. And definitely that had to be from online. So I don't normally ask anybody for permission to decide who I'm going to be today. So I would just make the relevant content to support it. And then I post it. And then basically they just have to accept it. And they have to accept it. I mean, with social media, it's a little hard because, you know, the algorithm pushes the niche. So if you're presenting yourself as one thing, it encourages you to keep being that one thing. But I tend to mix it up, and I kind of do that with my content calendar. So on Thursday, I do throwbacks to when I was a news anchor, maybe. And on Wednesdays, I'm an event host. And then Mondays, I'm in the office with a corporate client. And I think if you do that consistently enough, people will just have to accept that that's who you are and not question it. And especially if you do it well.
I love this. I want to get more voices into the mix here. Michelle, how about you? Like as you're continuing to level up and change things and reinvent yourself, like how do you bring others along for the ride?
Can you repeat the last part of your question?
Yeah, how do you bring others along for the ride?
Oh, how do I bring others along for the ride? I like to collaborate depending on the project that I'm working on. Like I said, I have different categories, right? And so if I'm working with children's content, then I'm collaborating with other teachers and administrators. And so I pull ideas, I participate in conferences. I think really it all comes down to connecting with people in the field that you're working in. And there's this phrase that I've adopted that I really like, and it's there's room for everyone to play on the playground. And so instead of seeing people as competitors, just seeing them as peers and as network and friends, because I don't have to be in competition with people. We can actually be stronger together. And so it depends the area that I'm in. But like I said, if I'm early childhood, I'm collaborating with people in that field. But if I am in marriage and counseling, then I'm working with people in that area. And then if I'm working with special needs parents, I'm getting updated on the information that they need. Every case is unique. And so I do communicate directly to the parents and get input on what they're going through. And I may not have resources right away, but I know where to go to get them. And so I think it all comes down to, for me, the value is there's room for everyone to play in the playground. Let's be stronger together. You're muted.
Y'all, this is funny because I was just testing out the mute here. I heard someone say that once, and I was like, "Oh, I like that one there." So thank you for that, Michelle. I appreciate that. Let's go to you here. We're gonna start wrapping up the conversation overall, but I am Lisa. You also talked about how you like your journey over time, right? And the boxes that are there. So I'm curious, like when you reinvent yourself, like what are some of the things that you think through to help like the people around you kind of just like come up and join you with it?
Yeah, so this is quite an interesting topic actually, because when I first started in business, I actually ran a gifting business. So it was completely different from what I do now. And then I went into a direct sales business, which was obviously selling. And then in 2020, when I announced I was going to be the vision board queen, I just put that out there. I put that crown on and I set my brand really, really strong so that people knew exactly what I was doing. And it's that consistency, it's showing up every single day as you with that brand, with that message, with that value of what you're giving to your clients and your audience. And I I absolutely love what I do, and I think that just shines through when I do share on social media, and people follow me for that message, for that for that brand that I've set myself, and yeah, I definitely think that that's really helped me when transitioning from one business to the other.
Well, that's like I appreciate it. Like I'm hearing this element of like y'all and Outliers. Here this year is like when it's time to show up, and like this is not it's not a
Yes.
permission seeking thing. I'm thinking about Nicola and like how you've had multiple parts of your life, and you're like, this is what I offer. This is like these are who get the best results for me here. When it's time to show up fully, and then bring others in there. And I want to what I'm going to do is that we'll end on that note here in terms of like these kinds of questions here. Outliers, as you're listening to this, there's probably something in this message that has really resonated with you. A way of reinventing yourself, a way of continuing to grow and be with be in a place where you are able to serve multiple people, even with a full-time role. Like there's things that are going on in this space here. And I want to make sure that if there's something that resonated with you, you go and you share it with someone else that would resonate with. My ask here is just share it with one person. It's kind of the one person at a time, experiment that I'm going through, right? Feel free, share it on your social, share it on your platform. Please do that. But I also find like one person. I'm looking at ripples of positivity right now, Lisa, and I'm thinking about like what would it be like to just have like someone know that you were thinking of them and you pass this conversation on so that you can join the conversation that Michelle, Nicola, Lisa, and Samantha, and myself have been having. Right.
So what you can see is a life-size book from the book launch party that happened on Sunday. So
Yeah.
it is like nearly the same height as me, what you can see behind me.
Oh, I love it though, because it's like you can't not see it. Like it's like to this point here, you're like, this is it. There's a book and it's life size and it's like it's here. Like it's a visual reminder to you and a visual reminder to me, and everyone that's watching. That's awesome. I love that. There's so much about it that I absolutely love. I want to put us in a position where Outliers get a chance to continue down the journey with you. All right. And so what we're going to do now is the way that we wrap up is that we share an insight that we got from this conversation and also how Outliers can like go deeper in the journey with you. I know you all mentioned your podcast earlier in the conversation, but I recommend doing it again now, as well as any place if an Outlier is like, I want to just jump into your world, how they can best do that. All right. So Michelle, let's start off with you. Can you share an insight that you got from this conversation? A takeaway. This is for you. Like Outliers are covered right now. And what I'll say is, if you didn't get an insight, that's totally fine too. Just say that and then let us know how we follow.
Um, I was really encouraged by listening to everybody else's journeys and all the different paths they take. I like Nicola's what she said. This is happening at the right time for me, because it's always been a thing, I think, for us humans to compare our journey to somebody else's, but more so now as the communication highway has just exploded and we can see everybody's journeys live. And oftentimes it really is difficult for anyone, and I mean, to be completely honest, for me, to see somebody go through a path that you think I should be that way. I look at leadership, where I look at entrepreneurs. I think about people like Elon Musk and how he's my age, right? And I think, well, and comparing their journey to mine is not beneficial. And so I like the thought of what's going to happen for me is going to happen at the right time for me, because I'm the one living my life. And so that's my takeaway for today.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. How can Outliers stay in your world?
Outliers can stay in my world. You can look me up. Anything that you listen to podcasts, you can find me on multiple platforms such as Apple Podcast or Spotify or Pandora, just all of them really. So I have two podcasts. One is called The Journey, and it's a podcast for special needs families trying to navigate the special needs world. We also have My Little Family, which is my husband and myself. We've been married this year. We'll be married 25 years. And so we decided that it's about time that somebody gets up and shares about what's working for them. So how we've made it last, and to be really blunt and honest about challenges that we've had. So that's My Little Family podcast. And if you have little ones and they are struggling with speech or needs interventions, I do have a focus on early intervention in my YouTube channel, Hey Miss Hayes. And so you can find me in those three spots.
Lovely. Thank you so very much here. Lisa, like, why don't you share with us an insight you got and a way that Allies can stay in the game with you?
Thank you. So my insight is definitely going to go and read the Building a Second Brain book. So thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. I'm interested to go and grab that on my Kindle or on my Audible later and see if I can get some golden nuggets from that to implement into my business. So thank you. For Outliers who want to follow me or come and join me, my podcast is called The Vision Board Blueprints, is available on Apple and Spotify, and mostly you will find me hanging out on Facebook inside my group called the Vision Board Lounge. And you can also buy my book on Amazon called The Ripples of Positivity, and I do have a book called Vision Board Blueprints as well.
Thank you, Lisa. I love this year. We're outliers, like stay in each other's role. Let's keep supporting. Let's keep growing with one another. We'll go to Samantha, and then we'll wrap up with Nicola.
So if you want to stay connected with me, you can first check my website. That is samanthajbest.com. It will lead you to all my socials, which most times the handle is at samanthaj.best and sometimes Samantha J Best. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And you can also check out my podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. It's called Pivot with Samantha J. Best, and it's there. I'm using it to help businesses and individuals effectively adjust your messaging, branding, and partnerships to stay relevant, build trust, and engage with your audience.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Samantha. Is there an insight that you'd like to share with us here for today?
Insights is that, when you're doing this journey, you think you're alone and that all your obstacles or challenges are unique to you. Not that I'm glad to know that other people are facing challenges, but it's good to know that, you're not alone and that there are other people who can share maybe some advice on how to get over the obstacles and then, help us and network so that we can all move forward. Because, online, everybody presents that everything is perfect. And that's most of the messaging that you're getting, that, I know how to fix this problem, but knowing that there are people who are having similar challenges, it's good to know that there are people, real life people that we can connect with.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for being one of those real life people for us outliers out here. Nicola, why don't you bring us home here? An insight you had and how we can stay in your world.
Yeah, I think an insight is definitely the positivity and little steps. I think this is such a valid point that's being made about how social media thrusts on people that we all need, to be the best at everything and do everything in record time. And that's just not the case. And I think just taking those tiny little steps, appreciating those little steps, patting ourselves on the back for those tiny little achievements, it is like like it just builds. It's the atomic atom, isn't it? Atomic habits just builds like steps and taking small steps at a time. I think that's so useful, and just for our mental health as well. If people want to connect with me, I'm starting a legal podcast within the next month called Law School SOS. I'm on LinkedIn under Joanne Shroll because Joanne's my middle name. And then on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. My company's Aspire Global Education and Training Limited. So that's mainly sort of legal. It is going to move into the financial training as well in the future.
Well, thank you so much here. And Outliers, if you're listening to this, by the time this episode comes out, that podcast is probably out as well. So just go right now and go go listen and go see what Nicola's bringing to the world. Well, thank you all for bringing yourselves to this outlier world here. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the game that you've been playing. Here goes the thing here, Outliers. Until the next time we talk, remember, be you on purpose. Journey on.